Hello, I'm Sarah Turner, and this is Gregor Finley.
Hi.
We work together on the Coaching Question podcast, and one of the products that we decided to develop, gosh, probably a couple of years ago now, I think, Gregor,
Yeah.
were the Coaching Question cards, and this is basically a pack of cards, sort of size of playing cards, which are designed to help you if you are a line manager to think about conversations you might have with your direct reports, but also for you yourself to reflect on whether you're a line manager or not. And what we were thinking about is it's coming to the end of the year. We know that organizations are really busy at this time, but actually often thinking into the next year and thinking about goal setting and having those kinds of goal setting conversations. And we thought, why not jump on a quick call to demonstrate how you might use these cards to have that kind of a conversation. What do you think, Gregor? Is there anything I've missed?
No, I'm just in terms of use of the cards. I've got clients that, as line managers, they have them and they take a few out in preparation for their one-to-one because it helps them have a better one-to-one. So that's the idea. But this is a structured, a more structured use of the cards. We just thought we'd give a real good demonstration.
Yeah, and we pulled out sort of 7 or 8 cards. So, we're not sort of using the entire pack. It's about pulling out a few cards that feel like they might be useful as a sort of prompt for this kind of a conversation.
Yeah. And my clients would generally use 2 or 3, just to help them with a one-to-one. But this is a bigger demonstration, so that's great. Yeah. So in this, I'm going to play the manager, and I'm going to ask the questions, and Sarah's going to answer them as if we're just having a one-to-one.
Yeah, great.
So I have to go into manager mode. And Sarah's my employee. I said, context, been working together for a bit of a while, but not too long. So we're not hugely familiar with each other. And we're in a mid-sized organization. Yeah. So we've done all the preamble, etc. We're into a one-to-one. And I'll say my first question. So Sarah, what needs to happen for you to do your best work here?
Okay, well, I think given what I need to achieve, it's going to be really important for me to have that senior level support. Mm-hmm. So if you can really help me to kind of get that empowerment so that I can drive the change I need to drive across the organization. And I think the other thing is if I do work that really plays to my strengths, then I'm going to do my best work. And I love working with people, supporting people, developing people. So that would be my sense on that one.
Brilliant. Clearly, in a one-to-one, we might, go into further discussion about that, but I'm just going to demonstrate the question. So the next one I might use is, so what do you stand for? Let me know, what do you hold important that you don't want to compromise on?
Okay. So I think equality and fairness is really important to me. They're definitely some of my values. And I guess part of that is making sure that everyone is heard and has a voice. So when I'm driving change across the organization, it's really important that I'm able to hear and listen to everybody who wants to be heard, who's got an opinion to be shared. And then I guess the other thing is I really love tangible, measurable difference. If I can turn around at the end of the year and go, X, Y, Z has been delivered or achieved, then that feels really important for me because I feel as if I've made a difference, I've made some progress.
Brilliant. So what I really like about this question is it really gets to the intrinsic motivation of the employee.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I've got to, this is really what makes Sarah tick. Probably at quite a deeper level, could have a really deep conversation here. Yeah. So now I've got an idea. How do I keep her intrinsically motivated, or what might I do to demotivate her? So that's why I particularly love this card for one-to-ones.
Yeah.
So to get a bit more practical, I might ask, Sarah, what's a challenging step that you want to take in your role right now that you're not taking?
Okay, so I was thinking about this as preparation for our meeting today, and I think that to date, my focus has been quite internal. And actually, I think it would be good, and this will be a challenge, but to actually become more external in focus. Mm-hmm. So I haven't quite worked out what this might look like yet, but I think, thinking about our reputation, thinking about recognition, our profile, maybe there's some awards in there that we want to go for, but it's sort of really broadening, my outlook as opposed to kind of being internal, really now opening up and thinking more external.
Great. And we would have a further conversation about that. But one of the questions I might might pop in as the next card, which is, so what does success look and feel like for you?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I really like to be able to have a tangible, measurable way of knowing that I've made a difference. So I think that some feedback is going to be really important. So going back to what I was saying earlier about support from, at a senior level, if I get some really positive feedback at a senior level that they can see the difference that I'm making, and not just at a senior level, I mean, across the organization, that's going to be really important. But I think also feeling as if I'm driving things forward, I'm not being held back. There's not lots of barriers in my way. And again, I think that goes back to that point about support from on high. If they can kind of clear the path for me, I feel like there's no stopping me. I'll just go straight ahead.
Right. So again, we might talk about how we'd coordinate around letting me know about barriers, what updates we want to have, etc. Really practical stuff we could fit in after that.
Yeah.
Another practical question, coaching question I might ask now in the cards is, so what's possible from the here and now?
Well, I'm getting quite excited now. I've just said that, because if we clear all the barriers out of the way and I've got a clear road, I mean, that could be a really exciting journey for me. If I could really feel that I could move things forward and make a difference, well, then not only could I become a leader in this space, but actually we could become a leader in the space as an organization. So that kind of goes back to that external focus and reputation. So yeah, I think that's what's possible.
Great. And how would you measure progress in this area?
Well, we've already started thinking about a baseline and kind of measuring our baseline and kind of having a sense as to what our targets might need to be. So I think that getting a bit clearer on those and maybe breaking those down to a little bit more detail over the course of this year, so that you and I really can tell, whether I'm moving the dial or not. The feedback I've sort of talked about. And then I think, if you agree and if senior team agree that actually thinking about the external recognition, that profile, that's an important thing, then maybe identifying one or two goals around that would be a good way of measuring progress.
Great. And so that could be an award in a public setting. There's all those sorts of things we could get, again, really practical, which would feed into, what Sarah's already said, that she really likes, practical progress,
Yeah.
So that's all brilliant.
Yeah.
Again, back to one of the other questions. So what does support from me look like? Aside from the feedback, we've talked about the feedback, but so what does support from me look like?
And this is my favorite question. So support from you would mean that you'd be my champion, and you'd really help me to elevate my profile and the work that I'm doing, because that's not something that comes easily to me. So anything you can do to really, amplify my work and my ideas would be huge. And then I think also, really empowering me. So being a sounding board, I don't like working in isolation. So being able to have time with you when I can come to you with an idea or a challenge or a barrier, as we talked about before, and really getting your expertise and your insight and, your thoughts around how I might overcome that or what I could do differently, challenge my thinking, would be really helpful. And I think, as I said before, I think it's that clearing the way, helping me as much as possible to get those barriers out of the way.
So that's great. So now we can agree, we would be able to agree like an operating rhythm of how often we would be in contact with each other, how we like to communicate. So we'd come out of that, with a really, basically we've got a pretty practical plan, and we know how we're going to work together, and we know what makes it, well, I certainly know what makes Sarah tick.
Yeah.
Now, there's another card in there that we've tagged on there, which isn't for the discussion I'd have with Sarah, but it's just for me. And so the cards are marked up whether or not they're for use with one of your line, or if they're just for me, for my own reflection. So this one's one of those. And that's for me to ask myself, how clear are my reports as to my expectations? And how would I know?
So what do you think on that? And I know we haven't had the full conversation yet, but assuming we had a full one-to-one there for an hour or however long it would be, and we got down to some of that nitty-gritty, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if I was sticking and being more of a coaching style of leader, I would say, well, what do you think my expectations are of you? That's where I may start. But it's this question about how would I know that they're really clear? And Sarah, I'm a big fan of the back brief, which is the process by which you give someone a goal, but then you said, okay, go away, think about it, come back and play out how you would achieve that. And that allows you to check your expectations. Are we actually on the same line? But loads and loads of the issues, when coaches come to me with an issue about one of their team, it will 9 times out of 10, it comes down to clarity.
Yeah.
So that's why this, I think, is such, that tag on the end is how would I know that they're really clear? That's the thing about circling back around clarity.
Yeah.
That's a really important part. And that's why I love this question in particular.
Yeah, I think it's really important. So what we might do at the end of this conversation would be that I might go away, maybe and draft up, however, in whichever format the organisation uses, my goals. This is what I think we talked about, Gregor. And then maybe what we do is we come back together again and review that together. Yes. And that would give you an opportunity to kind of explore what those expectations.
And there's the internal process of what the development plan, and might be goals for the year or whatever, but there might also be out of that a really practical plan about what you were getting excited about.
Yeah.
I may need you to do something else and say, actually, I need you to focus on this for the first 3 months a year, have this while you're planning this other stuff. We'll be able to do all those sorts of practical stuff. What I like about these cards is that it's all about exploring your intrinsic motivation, me getting to know about that, is still being really practical and also giving me some space to reflect. So we picked just a few cards that would give a really good one-to-one for this time of year.
Yeah. So if you're interested and you'd like to have a go with these cards, we'll put a link underneath the video so that you can access the website and purchase those for yourself. And if you've got any questions at all about how we've demonstrated these today, please do feel free to get in touch. Again, we'll put details under the video. I'm very happy to respond to questions and support you as you go into these conversations. And I'm assuming it'll be the new year, but for some, you might even be doing it now.
Brilliant. We'd love to hear any feedback about how you use the cards, because that's what's been brilliant, is hearing from people and how they've used them. And then we get to know that, the reason we designed the cards was we want people to be able to have access to more coaching and leadership style. And that's what these cards are there to do, to enable you to do that. So that'd be a really great Christmas present for me.
Right. Great.
Brilliant. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.